Alright, boys and girls, it is time for the video that my Twitter followers have been patiently waiting for. The rant on social distancing, or as I like to call it, forced isolation. Now, on Twitter, I've been frantically ranting about social distancing and forced isolation, as I've been calling it, for almost a couple of weeks now. I've always been telling people to open the world back up, all that, and it's about time I've made a video, because the only people that make videos about these rants about social distancing are Sticks, Hex, and Hammer 666 and Anomaly, which I'm going to be mentioning their names a lot in this video, and they're the only ones talking about this, and I want to make a video to bring it to my audience and show my view on social distancing, which is, by the way, the same as theirs, and that is that I want social distancing to end. Social distancing or forced isolation, because social distancing is a nicer, more friendlier way of saying forced isolation, has got to end. It has got to end. Open the world back up. Also, the reason why I'm making this video right now is because I've recently come up to an article that goes to show you what will happen after the quarantine is over, after the coronavirus is over, what would happen to schools after the pandemic, and how things are going to change. And the article, link in the description below, archived. Always archive your articles. This is what Sticks, Hex, and Hammer 666 has been saying, and I want more people to do this. Always archive your articles, because there's a lot of these websites that ask you to do a monthly fee to read the articles, or they'll just constantly poke you for using ad blockers. Just ignore them. Don't disable your ad blockers, and don't pay for any of these monthly, because they don't deserve any money. Legacy media does not deserve any money. So if you bump into an article, be sure to archive it so that way they won't make any money from it. Anyway, I read this article, and it talks about how a school in Quebec, when it reopens, it is going to have these strict social distancing guidelines where not only you have to be 6 feet apart from from other people, but they're very strict. Like, you're not allowed to bring your own food, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. Bathrooms are going to be monitored. I suggest you reading the article. The archive link is in the description below, but I suggest you reading this article to show how disturbing and how dystopian and how fascist this whole social distancing actually really is. So the development of all these stay-at-home orders and social distancing measures, or basically the government's friendlier way of saying forcibly isolating people from their friends, family, and other human beings, and preventing them from meeting and interacting with other human beings in person, and imprisoning them in their homes against all of their constitutional rights, and breaking people's freedoms in ways that are terrible, brutish, and obtuse, and not why people specifically came to America or even built America as a country in the first place. I mean, this is a disgrace. And I think people are going to be real pissed off about this, and are real pissed off. I mean, let's keep it $1.50 here. If somebody wants to stay in their home and they want to practice social distancing, that's great. That is fine. I am totally okay with that. They should be allowed to stay in the house and not be conformed to leave. They should be allowed to socially distance themselves from others and practice social distancing if they want to. But to say that they can't leave their home and that they'll be arrested if they do, or to say that they have to practice social distancing and are required to practice social distancing and they're not allowed to hang out with their friends or family, and they'll be arrested if they break social distancing laws, if they hang out with their friends, essentially forcing them into isolation and forcing them not to socialize with others, i.e. make new friends or find a girlfriend or boyfriend. This is tyranny. This is not liberty. This is the exact opposite. Have a listen to what Elon Musk says about all of this, and he's absolutely right about everything he says.
The extension of the shelter-in-place, or frankly, I would call it forcibly imprisoning people in their homes against all their constitutional rights, that's my opinion, and breaking people's freedoms in ways that are horrible and wrong, and not why people came to America or built this country. What the fuck? Excuse me. The outrage, it's outrage. But it will cause great harm, not just to Tesla, but to many companies. And while Tesla will weather the storm, there are many small companies that will not. It's like if somebody wants to stay in their house, that's great. They should be allowed to stay in their house, and they should not be compelled to leave. But to say that they cannot leave their house, and they will be arrested if they do, this is fascist. This is not democratic. This is not freedom. Give people back their goddamn freedom.
You heard what Elon said. Give people back their goddamn freedom. And I'm surprised that Elon Musk, Anomaly, and Styx Hexenhammer 666 are the only ones talking about this. More people should be speaking out about this. We need the world to be open up again, because not only we're going to start another Great Depression, possibly, but we're also going to have more and more people becoming paranoid because they lost their ability to socialize with others in person. They'll be forced to order groceries online instead of going to the store and getting them themselves. I don't want this to be our future. We gotta open the world back up. Open it up. And the amount of stupidity that we're seeing associated with COVID-19, the panic and the fear-mongering and propaganda, and what the government is doing right now with the social distancing and lockdowns and stuff like that. The only thing that I think we can possibly compare this to, even in a semi-modern era, between like maybe the late 70s or the early to mid 80s with the AIDS crisis then, the fear-mongering and the propaganda that went on there. Of course, people had all sorts of misconceptions about it for several years now. It lingered on in this weird state where a lot of people thought that the only thing that can be done is a total full-blown lockdown with strict social distancing measures, and then putting people who had this virus on some sort of desert island in the middle of nowhere, or something like that. Obviously, we managed to contain that crisis largely. We now know that even though it is not curable, it is treatable, in fact. That being said, a lot of the stuff that we're currently seeing right now, even if you look it up, I can't remember what year it was made, but I found this documentary on YouTube, like a 40 to 50 minute documentary on the AIDS crisis in the Reagan era. And it basically, talks about the AIDS crisis and Freddie Mercury's death. I remember seeing this last month somewhere on YouTube while I was in quarantine. I was just looking at random YouTube videos and it just popped up in my recommended section randomly out of nowhere. And I can't remember what the name of the documentary was or whatever, but it was quite good, by the way. It was, tied to the 80s documentaries, and a lot of the footage was the same. And a lot of the claims and the fear and the propaganda and the stuff really seems a lot similar to what we're seeing right now. I mean, it's the only thing that we can really compare it to when you really think about it. I can also mention that there was an Icelandic study about a couple months ago saying that there was a majority of mild cases that were considerably asymptomatic and showed no symptoms whatsoever. Even the WHO is trying to tell us to adopt the Swedish model for future cases, and in Sweden, nothing was locked down. They still had school, and the cases remained relatively low, and they were already doing just fine right now. And the majority of cases in Sweden are also considered asymptomatic as well. So, in conclusion, I think the best thing to do is to just open everything back up and end forced social distancing. I mean, we should still be able to, wash our hands more often than we did before this and all. And people should still be able to practice social distancing if they want to. But I don't think we should be able to, force social distancing on people and keep everything closed for a long period of time. I mean, the closest thing we can get, however, to a mandatory social distancing is in restaurants where waiters and waitresses are required to wear gloves and masks and tables are 6 feet apart. I'm 100% okay with this. But I am not okay with keeping everything closed and forcing people to be isolated from others, especially at schools, because that's going to cause some serious consequences in the long run that will not just last for years, but will more than likely last for decades. And I refuse to listen to the legacy media and the government trying to say, we're going to have a new normal. This is the new normal now, folks. We need to get used to the fact that everything's going to be different from now on. No. Shut the fuck up. Don't you fucking dare feed me in that goddamn fucking nonsense line. I don't want there to be a new normal, because that's exactly what they said after 9/11. And they invoked emergency powers and expanded government. And they told everyone to panic and be afraid. And much of what they did had nothing to do with 9/11. It didn't keep us any safer. It didn't make the world a better place. And it violated the majority of all our constitutional rights, let alone increased Islamophobia worldwide. And they fed us the same fucking asinine hogwash and wasted a whole ass load of money, implemented draconian and unconstitutional measures to airport security, and started wars. Luckily, that was around the time when I and some of you guys were infants becoming toddlers, or some of you guys weren't even born yet. But this time it's different. I'm not an infant anymore. We are not babies anymore. We are grown-up adults. I'm 19. Are you telling me that they're going to use COVID-19 as an excuse to do the same shit? Because I guarantee, just like with 9/11, it won't be the right country they choose to target. It won't be China, it'll probably be somebody else. This is definitely going to cause some serious damage in the long run that might even last for decades. This will affect everyone, not just adults like myself, but also little kids and the future generation. It's literally similar to 9/11 and the AIDS crisis at this point. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, and if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. This was a little bit of a short rant I decided to make about social distancing because I've already had enough of this. So I just wanted to put all this out and make sure I show my opinions on social distancing and all the lockdowns that have been going on. I didn't intend to make this video super long, so that's why I linked both channels I mentioned in the description below, along with the article I mentioned, so be sure to check all those out if you want more information. Big shout out to Anomaly, Elon Musk, Dave Cullen of Computing Forever, and Styx Hexenhammer 666 for being the only ones actually speaking out about this issue. And this won't be my only rant on this topic. There might be a lot more of these social distancing and lockdown rants if I have the time to make them. AP exams are in the way, so that's probably why I don't make these videos that often. So make sure you turn on those notifications because you may never know when those videos are going to come out. And be sure to follow me on all my social medias. Links are in the description below. And I like to hear your opinions about social distancing. And I like to hear what you guys are doing while we're all in quarantine. I like to hear some of your guys' stories in the comment section below. But until then, take care, talk soon, peace.